How's it going? It is Mythos, and today's video might ruffle a few feathers because perhaps some of you have used one of these yourself and you'd swear it was real and everyone there promised it wasn't them moving the planchette, so it had to be spirits. Now just give me a minute to explain what's going on and I'll show you an experiment that you can do yourself at home. So first off, I just want to say that although I don't actually believe Ouija boards help us speak to the dead,
what?
And I will show you that in a minute, I do love them. I just think they're so cool. You can get some really awesome looking ones, and there's even people out there who collect them.
How many Ouija boards do you have?
In the house is a total of 48.
There's also a museum in Salem called the Salem Witch Board Museum. And I think it's an awesome place. Although I've not been, I would love to go check out all the cool and unique and funky designs. Anyway guys, the Ouija board was first invented all the way back in 1886 and it was officially licensed to sell in 1891. But what we're going to do today to debunk the Ouija board is an experiment from 43 years earlier. If you want to just skip to that, you can go to this timestamp here. But if you want to find the origins of the experiment we're going to do, we need to take a trip back to when spiritualism really began. Now, I know quite a few of you have heard of the Fox sisters, as they've been mentioned a lot lately, but if you haven't, in 1848, two young girls, Margaretta and Kate Fox, claimed they were being haunted by a spirit that they called Mr. Splitfoot. I've got to hand it to them. That is a freaky ass name. I think anything with Mr. in front of it just makes me go, ugh. This spirit would apparently communicate with them in a numerous of mysterious ways, like moving furniture around the room, knocks on the floor and walls. And as the word spread of this apparent paranormal activity, the Fox sisters began to captivate the public and were the first spiritualists to perform for a public audience. They would perform something called table turning, where people would all stand around and place their hands on a circular table, only for it to start moving beneath them, seemingly acting of its own accord. Enter the scientists.
Yes, science!
They were quick to question this unexplained phenomenon, some thinking the movement of the tables to be electricity or magnetism. Due to his work in this area though, people reached out for the opinion of the renowned physicist Michael Faraday. In 1853, a whole 5 years after the Fox sisters started all of this, Faraday conducted his own experiments and concluded that this was a physical phenomenon, not some kind of supernatural one. The people at the table were unconsciously moving the table themselves by means of an ideomotor response. The ideomotor effect refers to the unconscious, involuntary motor movements that are performed by a person based on prior expectations, suggestions, or preconceptions. So for an example, with the Ouija board, after the Exorcist movie came out, where Regan explains to her mother how she used the family's Ouija board to ask a question to Captain Howdy.
Captain who? Captain Howdy.
The demon who eventually takes possession of a soul, the board's occult status was cemented. Since then, it's shown up in more than 20 films and now has the reputation of being something you do not mess with. I've even watched recently videos of people going on investigations on YouTube, and the owner of the place will say, yep, they're happy to do whatever you want, use all of the equipment, but do not use a Ouija board. Speaking of investigations actually, people who use it on investigations, they're first going on tours of supposed haunted houses and getting told stories about the paranormal before using it, so that's going to affect you psychologically when you play. So, on to the experiment from Mr. Faraday. If you've got a Ouija board, that's cool, but if not, you can use some kind of card or paper and a little glass or something that can slide on a table. What we're going to do is place a number of cards on top of the planchette or on your glass and use the Ouija board as you would normally do. As the planchette moves, so will a layer of cards, but this is where we're able to see the cause of the movement. The movement of the cards will be different depending on where the force is coming from. If it's being moved by the spirits, then the layer of cards would drag along behind, sloping away from the direction of movement as they get pulled across the board. If the movement was coming from you yourself, then the top layer of cards would move first, sloping in front of the planchette as it gets pushed around. It's the layer of cards that would start off the movement. Faraday's experiment confirmed that the force was being applied by the people touching the moving object rather than a spirit. To add to this, if you're blindfolded while using the Ouija board, the spirits fail to communicate and the board doesn't seem to work anymore. Strange that, huh? Now, if you see anyone using one of these, just send them this link. I'm adding playlists to the channel for good devices and bad devices, so they're just easy to find. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you going to try this experiment out yourself? If you do, let me know what happens down below. If you still get possessed by a demon, I'm sorry to hear about that, but hopefully you're okay and I can see you in the next one.